Do you like Abby? Is she someone that you'd go for?
I get on with her really well. Like, we have good conversations and that. Never crossed the line with her.
I just want you to do what's good for you, bro.
Mitch, I don't see him as a threat.
Did she speak to you about it?
Yeah, we had a chat.
And what she said?
I think Mitch is in for a heartbreak, and I think he's in for a rude awakening, because the fact that he's undermining Scott and he's thinking that Scott is less than and he is the better man, he's going to be shocked, because Scott is not doing a lot of heavy lifting. He's told Abby that, you know, if you want, we can pursue, we can try and see if there's anything here. If not, I'm happy to keep going as I am. And I don't know how Mitch will feel knowing that Ty encouraged Scott to explore things with Abby. But hey, it's nice to see Scott happy. I'm not too sure about the comments that the girls made, but hey, it is what it is. Hey there, thanks for stopping by. It's your girl Valerie. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, a comment, and turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love Island, Season 10, Episode 36. So we pick up with Sammy walking away from Jess, and Jess is just sitting there, and Sammy's going to the guys and moaning, oh, you know, the girls have got into Jess's head, and this is why she's behaving the way she's behaving. I'm ready to be closed off. And it's like, how have you gone from dating Jess and Amber to suddenly dating Jess, to suddenly being closed off? You were if you're willing to be closed off, you should have broken things off with Amber. You should not have gone past recoupling at the most. And so for you to say you're ready to go, you're ready to be closed off, it's just because you want to secure Jess and you want to secure your fate in the villa. I like the fact that Zach walked off. I think Zach is tired. He's tired of hearing the same thing that we're tired of hearing. And then the girls go up to Jess and start talking. It's Ella, Whitney, and Catherine. And Catherine is, oh, he needs to take responsibility. And it's like, mirror, where is a mirror? Show her a mirror and let her sort of listen to what the words coming out of her mouth. And maybe she will understand exactly what she's saying, because she can't preach something that she's not willing to do. And this is my issue with Catherine, in the sense that all the other guys that have been horrible to her, she's nice to them. The one that's been nice to her, they are the guys that she's treated badly, which is sad. So Catherine then goes across to Sammy. Sort of, I think she wants to sort of advocate for Jess and sort of be a go between Jess and Sammy. And she's trying to explain where Jess is coming from. And it's like, we really don't need this. I don't think this is your war to fight. You have bigger battles. Yes, you are in your coupling, you're happy, but you need to mend bridges, because you never know where you're going. If the viewers vote out Ellen, what's your fate? Because it seems like Scott is the only guy who was interested in you outside of Ellen. If Ellen goes home, you're stuck, which means you're vulnerable and you're likely to go home. Mend bridges, because the guys talk amongst themselves. They're seeing what you're doing. Whichever bombshell is going to come in is seeing what you're doing, and chances of them wanting to couple with you after your attitude are very unlikely. So I don't think you should be involving yourself in this Sammy and Jesse battle. And then you have the guys. So you have Ty, Montel, and Scott is there, and Zach, and they are talking about Mitch. So Zach is upset with Mitch because of what happened in regards to Mitch sort of going behind the guys' backs and sort of bad mouthing them to the girls that he was trying to couple up with. And Montel is like, well, that's not fair. It's like, Montel, sit down. You are not involved. He did not approach Leah or have a conversation with Leah while she was in a coupling with you. He did that before you were in a coupling, if I remember very well. And even for Zach, it's a bit too late to sort of confront Mitchell, because he already knew about Mitchell's conversation with Katie. He knew about Mitchell's conversation with Molly. So the idea that he suddenly agreed because he's actually seen it and he's actually heard the words come out of Mitchell's mouth doesn't make any sense to me. I think it's too late for them to decide to sort of battle Mitchell now. I think they all need to move on. And then all the islanders go and get ready for bed. And you have Leah and Catherine sort of having a back and forth about Scott. And to me, it doesn't make sense, because Scott appears to be someone who's trying to keep himself out of harm's way. Even when the guys were talking about Mitchell, he kept his mouth shut. He was just sat there. He didn't say anything. And to think that Leah is saying Scott is disrespectful and Catherine is agreeing with him doesn't make sense to me. Where are these girls? Why have they suddenly become united? As I said in my previous review, I think Leah is still upset with Scott for picking Catherine over her, and suddenly she's found an excuse to sort of take her anger out on Scott, because it doesn't make sense after the comment she made, and Scott came back and sort of made his response to her and apologized to her, that she's still going on, oh, Scott this, Scott this. Make it make sense. I don't get it. I don't get it. She's looking for a storyline, or she's looking for involvement, for things to say once she leaves the villa. That's the impression that I'm getting, because she's not fighting with Montel, who she should be fighting with, because of the lies that he told her. She's busy fighting with Scott, who has nothing to do with her. And for Catherine to continue, if Catherine says she's moved on, I don't know why she's still talking about Scott. If she won't allow Scott to speak up for himself, or she won't hear Scott out, I think both Leah and Catherine are in the wrong, and they're being petty, and they need to move on. They're in their couples. They found guys that they like, and the guys seem to like them. They need to leave this man alone and keep it moving. So in the morning, the islanders have a debriefing. And for me, that debriefing they could have done without. Because it's the same old, same old. Ty saying that he's forgiven Ella and he's not going to bring it up again. Montel talking about how he feels bad about what Leah spoke about, what she saw, and he's going to try and address that. And then the guy's talking about Mitch, and Sammy obviously talking about his connection with Jess. Jess talking. It's the same old. We could have done without that, because nothing has changed in that situation. The responses are still the same. Ty, yes, he can move on. That's it. Yes, he takes responsibility for encouraging the boys and he stands by it. That's it. Montel, it's a waste of time with Montel, because Montel is not telling the truth and he's not taking full responsibility for what he did, and he's trying to make excuses. He's been told to stop using the guys, so he's now trying to find some way to hide so that he can sort of use something as a shield as to why he behaved the way he behaved. He liked Tink. He made Tink believe that she was going to stay in the villa. He should own up to that and tell Leah that I changed my mind at the last minute instead of wasting our time. Sammy needs to keep quiet. Somebody needs to send Sammy home, because I'm sick and tired of him being horrible to Jess and then expecting her to forgive him just because he thinks he's better than, and Jess is better than what she's putting herself through. I don't know why she continues to put up with Sammy, but hey, I digress. And then the guys sort of sit down with Mish to sort of call him out on his behavior. Do I think it was necessary? I don't think so, because Sammy already spoke to Mitch and Zach already spoke to Mitch, and I think it's because the girls brought it up. This is why the guys decided to address it with Mitch, but otherwise there was no need for that sit down, because nothing was resolved. And Mitch was sort of trying to, yes, he owned up to some of it, but was trying to excuse his behavior for bad mouthing the guys. So I don't get why we even wasted our time with that, because nothing is going to change. As soon as Abby jumps ship, Mitch is going to be back to his old self and is going to continue to be messing it. So it is what it is. And then you have Katie speaking to Uzi. Do I think they make a great couple? I think Katie will eat Uzi for breakfast. Uzi is too laid back for Katie. But at the same time, I'm happy that he's stepping out of his comfort zone and he's decided to sort of explore other connections and is not just sitting there in Ella's shadow. So I'm happy that the girls encouraged him to sort of take a step forward, and hopefully he will find someone. And then you have Montel sitting down to chat again with Leah, and it's like, why? I don't get why we continue to see Montel and Leah and Jess and Sunny have the same conversation 200 times. The first time was enough. It's now becoming monotonous, it's becoming boring. And it's the audacity for all of them to not be able to realize that this is not good for me. I need to move on. I don't get why Leah is okay with the way she was treated by Montel, and yet is so aggrieved by Scott telling her that you haven't spoken for 4 weeks and suddenly you're the spokesperson. It doesn't make sense. For Jess, I think people are sort of remaining in couples because they know that if they uncouple, then they're stuck. There's no one else for them, because Montel has not done anything or said anything that worth Leah's sort of forgiveness, and neither has Sammy done anything or said anything that's worth Jess's forgiveness. The fact that the guys have disrespected them and continue to disrespect them and want the girls to move on doesn't make sense. It shows a lot of immaturity, and so for the girls to be okay with that and for Montel to plan this grand gesture for Leah doesn't make sense. He needs to start off by apologizing for what he did, and then if once he's apologized and they are in good books, then he can perform the grand gesture. But the fact that he's managed to sort of bring Sammy and Zachariah into his scheme to sort of pull Leah up to the terrace doesn't make sense to me. And I don't get why the guys are sort of going along with it unless the producers have asked Montel to do this. And suddenly, I don't get why we suddenly have the spotlight on Leah and Montel. Is it to save them from elimination? No, I want them to go home. I appreciate the words that Montel said, but do I buy it? I don't know. I don't know whether somebody sort of talked him into doing it, because it seemed more or less like what Tanya did after she upset Shaq last season. But I have to give him credit for standing up there and sort of saying the words, even whether or not he meant is something totally different. It's different to, I know, I'm sorry, Catherine's situation in the sense that she still hasn't acknowledged Scott's feelings, and she continues to see herself as the aggrieved, and he is the agitator. He's the one who's sort of upset her, and she will never forgive him. So I have to give Montel credit for apologizing in front of everyone in the villa, because he went up on the terrace, he apologized, everyone was happy for him. He came down, and everyone was sort of encouraging him to kiss his girlfriend, so to kiss his partner, Leah. And she seemed very smitten and very taken by it, so I guess she's forgiven him. And surprisingly, maybe because she loves him, that's why she likes him, that's why she's forgiven him so easily. Ty and Scott and Sammy and Sakurai are talking, and Ty is sort of saying he feels he's in love, which to me is true, unless it's game playing. Because Ty comes across as a new man, the things that he does for Ella, the way he was quick to forgive her, the way he's so caring about her and is always checking up on her, he's a totally different man from when he walked into the villa. So I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. And then you have Katie and Uzi chatting. And for me, I don't get how Katie can say, "Oh, Scott is single, but she doesn't like loud guys." And it's like, are we missing something? Where is Scott loud? Because every time you see him, he's just sitting there in the background. He barely says anything. So how is he loud? I don't get it. If you don't like someone, just say you don't like him. Just say the truth. You don't like him because you're worried about the backlash from Catherine if you do decide to sort of try and couple up with him, because you don't know where she stands, whether she's completely moved on from him or whether she's still interested in him. Don't make it seem like he's made noise and this is why you don't like him. I think she should have just said he's too nice. That's it. She should have just said he's too nice, and she prefers a bad boy. That would have made more sense. Even though Uzi comes across as he's sort of similar to Scott, so I don't get the difference. In her sort of rationale, I don't get how she can say Scott is too loud and Uzi is just easygoing when Scott and Uzi seem like they're both easygoing. But hey, I don't know. I have to give Mitch credit for pulling Zach and Sammy for a chat and sort of apologizing for his behavior and how he came across during movie night. So I give him a lot of credit for taking ownership and apologizing and saying, I was desperate and this is why I was running around the way I was. But I have since grown from that and I've since moved on and I've managed to create a connection with someone. So I hope, you guys can forgive me. And the guys were there to forgive him, and they're happy that at least he acknowledges his mistakes and he takes ownership of that and he's moving on. That's all we've ever wanted. And then you see Katie and Jess having a conversation with Leah saying she set a standard. And it's like, a standard for what? For her guy messing about and then standing on the terrace and apologizing in front of everyone? No, I don't think so. I think Montel has done that to save face, and she's just eaten that up. She hasn't set the boundaries, because had she told him her expectations and then he had risen to those expectations, that would be her setting the standard for the girls in the villa. She hasn't. So I don't get it. I'm confused. I don't know. What about you? I don't get it. I don't get what standard she set, because she hasn't really set a standard. Montel has chosen and set a standard for himself, and she has just eaten up whatever he set up. But anyway, I have to give credit to Katie, because she told um, Jess that you can't just, eat up everything Sammy's dishing out. You need to set a standard and you need to maintain it. You can't just always be putting up with everything he does or everything he says. You need to set boundaries for him, and he needs to understand that if he sort of goes across those boundaries, then that's it. The two of you are done. And I don't know. We'll see how it just plays out. Jace likes the commotion and she likes feeling like she's chasing someone. That's the impression that I'm getting. Katie was saying she's excited about Uzi. Uzi was telling Zach and Sammy that he's excited about his connection with Katie. And it's like, I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. If Uzi can stay in the villa, or if he can get a storyline before he leaves the villa, I think this is what Ella wanted for him, and this is why she brought him to the villa, so that he could get publicity. So if him linking himself up to Katie is what it takes, then hey, it is what it is. And it was so sweet. It was so sweet for Abby to sit down and have a conversation with Scott. Scott has a lot of regrets. I think he did mention that he regrets not pursuing his connection with Gabby. I think because he felt like had he coupled up with Gabby, people would have thought he was just pandering. So he's pandering to the black female vote. This is why he keeps dating a particular type of woman, because he didn't come into the villa saying this is who he was chasing. But I was I was hoping and begging that I hope he couples up with Gabby, because I really liked Gabby. But then, if it doesn't work out, hopefully when he leaves, he can sort of hook up with her. I like Abby speaking to him and sort of encouraging him and telling him that let us put out a positive vibe that the next bombshell that comes in will like you. And I don't think it's a long shot for anyone to like Scott. He comes across as a great guy. I think the problem is people in the villa want someone who's dramatic, someone who's toxic, someone who will give them airtime, not realizing that Scott, by being himself, has got has got a large fan base, and has got a lot of people supporting him. And then the guys were teasing Mitch and saying, "Oh my God, um, Scott is about to take Abby from you, Mitch," and Mitch is like, "I'm not intimidated. It's like you, it's like you, Ty, are you intimidated by me thinking that I might take Ella?" And it's like, Scott is a great guy. I don't get what Mitch feels like he's not intimidated by Scott. I think Scott is a better catch than him. And Scott said, he was having a really great time before Casa, and since Casa, things have changed for him. And so it was nice for Abby to sort of try and bring him out of his shell. And you can see that his mood has changed because the people he was closest to no longer speak to him. And I think Whitney is not speaking to him because of her allegiance to Catherine. She's close friends with Catherine, so then she can't go against Catherine and suddenly be close friends with Scott, which is really sad. In the changing rooms, the girls were still talking about their connection, and it's like, oh, this is getting old. We need to move on. We really need to move on. This Montel was excited to go to bed because he wants to sleep with Leah because they've made up, and it's I don't know. So in the morning, there's no debriefing, and actually, these Casa people have lasted a lot longer than most Casa people do in the villa or once they've recoupled. But hey, it is what it is. So you have Uzi having a conversation with Katie. I think the producers want Katie still on the show. I think they must have paid her a good amount of money, so they need to get their money's worth. Because you see her chatting with Uzi, and she's saying, Uzi's her ideal man. She feels that their connection is growing, but she's a slow burner. She wants to keep her cards close to her chest, so they'll see how they go. And it's like, oh, just make it make sense. You know that if you don't couple up with Uzi, there's no other guy in the villa you're going to couple up with, because you said you didn't like all of them apart from Zach. Zach is now with Molly, so hey, it is what it is. You have to make do with what you have. And then you have Ty and Ella sort of having a conversation about life after the villa, and the fact that Ty feels like they're closed off completely. Even if anyone comes in, there's no head turning, he can do what he wants. Ella's looking forward to them leaving the villa, and I don't know whether she was more or less hinting at them sort of moving in with one another and just staying in bed all the time. So I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. And then you have Sammy and Jess going on this merry-go-round. Personally, I don't know how naive Jess is. I don't want to believe she's that naive. I think Jess is a game player and Jess knows that her destiny in the villa is tied to Sammy. And this is why she continues to go on this merry-go-round, because nothing has changed. For Sammy to say to her, I've discovered I have feelings for you. Even halfway through Casamo, I kept thinking about you. And when were you thinking about Jess? When you're kissing Gabby or when you're kissing Amber? Make it make sense. And I don't get how Jess continues to put up with that nonsense. To me, that does not make any sense. But hey, to each their own, because I wouldn't put up with that nonsense. And then you have Zach and Molly sort of talking about their coupling, thinking they're stable and they're very happy. Molly's very reserved. She keeps things close to her chest. And it's like, I personally don't even see why Molly came into the villa. And I feel sorry for Zachariah in the sense that as much as Zachariah wound me up when he first came in, I feel sorry for him in the sense that he did not get the full Love Island experience because they took Molly out, left him with KD. He tried to explore things with KD. Things were not going as smoothly as he expected. And then when Casamo came, he was looking forward to his time in Casamo, to exploring connections with a lot of people. And suddenly, Molly came back. So he hasn't had the full experience of Love Island, which makes me feel very sorry for him. So even him deciding to settle down with Molly, I don't think that will last long once they leave the villa. I think when he gets other opportunities, he will move on. And then you have Ty, Ella, Sammy, and Scott sort of having a conversation. And Ty is sort of trying to sort of probe Scott to see if Scott is open to getting to know Abby. Ty is a menace. Ty is a mess. If Mitch is going to get upset, he should get mad upset with Ty, because Ty is the one who sort of asked Scott, have you ever considered exploring things with Abby? Do you think the two of you will have a connection? Do you think it's something you want to explore and see how it goes? And he sort of says, we're very good friends. We have very good conversations, but I have never thought about our relationship in that sense. So I've never thought about sort of talking to her in a romantic sense. And then Abby comes across and pulls Scott for a chat, and you can see Mitch's ears perk up because he's worried that what is going on. And I like the fact that Scott was able to ask Abby that, is this something that you'd be interested in exploring? He didn't go up to her and say, "Oh, I want to explore you." No, he asked her, "Are you open to the idea of us getting to know one another?" And I think this is one of the girls' grievances with him, that he's too nice, but that's who he is. He's not going to go up to her and say, "Oh, I've been thinking about you. I've decided to explore things. Oh, Mitch is a bad guy. I'm the good guy." No, he asked her, "Are you open to getting to know me?" And she said, "Well, I hadn't thought about it, but I don't mind, because I'm not normally somebody who explores two people at the same time, but I'm open to getting to know you." And he asked, "Are you going to speak to Mitch first?" And she said yes, which shows a lot of maturity on Scott's part, in the sense that he respected her relationship with Mitch. He respected that she needed to have a conversation first before they could explore anything romantic. And I really loved that for him. When Mitch was asked by Zachariah, he said, "No, I'm not intimidated. I'm not intimidated by Scott." He keeps thinking that he's better than Scott, and it's like, you're not really. The movie night didn't do you any justice, because you could see on Abby's face that she was worried when she saw your behavior and the words that were coming out of your mouth. So there is a chance that Abby's head is going to be turned. So Abby immediately goes and speaks to Mitch and tells him, "Yes, we are getting along great. And I'm not someone who likes to double date, but Scott and I had a conversation, and I was hoping to explore that." And Mitch seems to take it very well, but I don't think he did. I don't think he did. I like how Abby moved. I like the fact that she spoke to Scott, and then soon after speaking to Scott, she went and she spoke to Mitch. And as soon as she spoke to Mitch and they were in a good place, she then went back to Scott. So, which I have to give her credit for being honest. And she's told Mitch that, Scott said he's open to getting to sort of know me. And I have been having amazing chats with him. So I'm open to getting to know him too. And you could see that Mitch was hurt. You could see Mitch was hurt, because I don't think he expected this. And he immediately gave her a pack. He asked for a kiss, and it's like, okay, mark your territory, guy. And then, so while she was chatting with Scott, the girls started asking, and for Catherine to say, "Oh, has she spoken to you?" Catherine, that's none of your business, my love. That's none of your business. You stay with Ellum. You're happy with Ellum. You don't need to know what's going on with Scott, and you don't need to know what's going on with Abby. They have nothing to do with your coupling. And he said, "Well, she told me that Scott wanted to sort of explore her. He wanted to get to know her." And it's like, that's not what she said. But hey, he said he was open. He said he did not say he was exploring her. But if that's what you understood, hey. And then he sort of hinted that, "Oh, I'm not intimidated." And it's like, you keep underestimating Scott. You keep underestimating Scott, and it's going to surprise you. So Whitney was right to say, you never know. Don't underestimate anyone. You never know this place. You might be surprised. She might switch and suddenly be with Scott. So don't take it for granted. And so it was nice to see them actually happy. It was nice to see Scott for the first time in a long time actually laughing and being happy and smiling. And I think even if he goes home, he'll go home on a good note. So I appreciate Abby for sort of being open to explore things with him. And I don't know how Mitch will feel when he realizes that Ty was the instigator. Ty is the one who encouraged sort of Scott to explore things with Abby. We'll wait and see how that plays out. But anyway, it was a great episode. It was a bit too slow for me, given what happened on movie night. But hey, it is what it is. And I don't know why Molly's still there. But anyway, that's a story for another day. Thanks, guys, for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Bye, everyone.